Hi, my name is Jim Bala. I'm the tech service guy here at Buyers Products. Today's video, we're going to accessorize our DumperDogg. But before we go any further, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, become part of that Snow Dog family. Also, we're in the shop today, getting a little noisy, but we're going to get through it, and we're going to teach you guys how to put these accessories on. What I'm going to do today, though, I'm going to be doing it on the ground. It makes it a lot easier. It's also very possible and easy also to do it on the truck, but since it's not on the truck and on the ground, it's just a lot easier, and we're going to show you that in the video. So let me get these parts out on the table and we'll go through them. All right, so we got the boxes out of the DumperDogg. Now we're just going to go through them and see what we have here. I'm going to open the box real quick. Now this is our side brackets that go on the DumperDogg. And it's part number 5531020. And what we have is, I'm just going to pull out one, or drop one, but we have the one bracket that's going to go on the cab guard. And then our other bracket, and again, this is a pair, so this is a complete set for the piece of wood that's going to go in here. So wood fits in there, it's going on the side. That's what you get. Also, you have to use the cab guard and this together. These have to go together because that's how the wood sits in there when you put the cab guard on. But we'll get that in a second. The next accessory is our tarp kit, which is a DTR 5508. And I'm going to open this here. There we go. Gotta be careful of staples. But what you get here is a complete tarp kit. I'm not gonna pull everything out, but you have your rail, and then go figure you have a tarp, and then there should be everything else you need. Handle, crank, all these parts. Again, we'll be putting them on in a second. Then our third accessory is our cab guard, which I'm just going to leave back here for now because it's kind of heavy. It's part number 5531010. So this comes with the cab guard and your two sides. So now let's get them installed. All right, before we get started, here's some of the tools that you need for the job. Of course, we always have the hammer, screwdriver. We also have a punch to start the drills. Of course, a Phillips screwdriver. We got a couple Allen wrenches here, and those are for the set screws. We got a 9/16 and 7/16 wrenches. We have a marker. Again, shouldn't be black, should be a different color. White's a good color, that one's red. We have a 9/16 deep well socket with a 3/8 extender that goes on our impact gun. That also has a 3/8 deep well socket with a 1/4" drive ratchet. We have a drift pin. We have my tape measure. That's why I have my name on it so I don't lose it. Then we also have a 7/16 drill, razor knife, instructions, safety glasses, and for us older folks, we got our cheaters. So let's get to it now. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I got everything out of the package, and now we're just going to start by putting the side brackets on. Of course, they go a certain way. Of course, we're on the driver's side, so you want the sticker to be on the outside, and of course, the top part going toward the cab. So these are 3/8 bolts, so you want to do the bolt, flat washer, then another flat washer, and then the nut. And then now we're going to do the same thing. The holes are all pre-drilled, so what we're going to do is start these two, and then we're going to go on the other side and do the same thing. All right, so we got both side plates on, driver's side, passenger side. Now what we'll do is we're going to lift up the cab guard, and we're going to get some more bolts started. Like I said, I have this snug, so what we're going to do is make sure all the bolts are in, and then we'll tighten everything up. So with assistance, we're gonna lift up the cab guard. And like I said, I put a couple bolts here to make it easier, or you put them in your pocket, but my pockets aren't that big. So we're gonna start it. Now you want this lip to go underneath the thing, underneath the side plate. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna get it started back here. Just get a couple bolts in. Okay, now once they're in, we're gonna get the one on top. And then what we wanna do is wait, because we have to put another bracket right here for our side bracket protector, you know, for the wood, little bracket that goes in here. So let me tighten this up and then we'll get that other bracket put on. All right, so we just finished putting the cab guard on and the sides, and we used a DeWalt impact with a 9/16 socket and a 9/16 wrench to tighten everything down. Our next step is to put this bracket on that is the front bracket for the side extension. So we're gonna put this on and then the part in the back. And like I said, we tightened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, 10 bolts. Again, we didn't put the bolts in here because this is where this bracket goes. So let's do that right now, then we'll get the back brackets on. All right, so really simply what we're doing is just taking a 3/8 bolt with the washer. We're gonna put it through this way, put the washer on the outside, and I'm putting the nut on the outside of the DumperDogg just in case the wood has a little bit more room in here. So you're not taking up another 1/2 inch inside of the bracket. So we're gonna snug this up, start both bolts, snug it up, and work on the back brace. All right, so to do the back brace, what we wanna do is take the bolt with the washer, start it. Okay, now that's gonna get us to the location of the other 2 holes that are right here and right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark those holes. So I'm going to mark these 2 holes because that's where we're going to drill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this off. Then I'm going to take a prick punch, try to get in the center of the hole. This way our drill is going to find the center, so it's not going to be walking all over the place. So that prick punch helps a lot. And then what I'm going to do is put my safety glasses on because we're going to be drilling a hole, so we don't want to get injured. So I'm going to drill. It's for a 3/8 bolt. So it's going to be what you have on hand. You know, you can use a 13/32 drill or a 7/16 to make this hole. This way the bolt's going to go in there freely, easily, and get this thing together. So I drilled both holes, and now I'm just going to put the back brace on. Okay, we're going to get all the bolts started first, and then we'll put the nuts on. Again, once we get it all tightened up, we're going to go to the other side and do that side. So we got the back braces on now. Our next step, final step, is to get this tarp on, our DTR tarp. So the first thing I do is I locate my center, and these are all the parts for this tarp. So I locate my center hex piece for the roller. And what I do is I want to find the center of it. So what I do is just measure it. It's 36 inches. So then what I'm going to do is just take a marking pen and get that center, which is 18. For those of you guys who don't know out there, half of 36 is 18. So I marked it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the bearings. Now the bearings are both the same. So we're going to take the bearing, and what it says in the instructions, again, we're going to use a 3/8 bolt. with a lock washer and a nut. Drop that, there's a weird piece. So I'm going to go over there. Again, we don't want to tighten it all the way. We just want to snug it up a little bit. So I'm going to bring it over to the passenger side. Again, everything's pre-drilled, as you see. So I'm just going to put that in there. Again, lock washer, nut on the inside. I'm just going to do hand tight right now. The same thing with the bottom hole. Again, I just want to be able to move it a little bit, a little play. So let's go put the other side on. The other side's a little bit more difficult because it has a bearing, plus it has our locking mechanism, has a gear on it. We got to put a spring on it. So we can do that on this side. So here we have our driver's side mechanism. So I'm going to do the same thing, just get the bearing out. Now this one's a little different because the top bolt is standard, but our bottom bolt is 2 1/4 inches long. All right, so before we put the bearing on, what we have to do is, you see this is a little loose here, so what we're going to do is just get yourself a 7/16 wrench and a Phillips screwdriver, and I'm just going to tighten this up right here. But you can't tighten it too much. There's a nylon washer behind it that makes it pivot, but you want to, make it stiff. But then again, not too stiff. So I'm just going to tighten it up a little bit. So I don't think you can tighten it up too much. It stops at a shoulder. So again, 7/16 wrench and a Phillips screwdriver. All right, now there. So I'm going to take the bearing. I'm going to put it on, and I'm going to get just like the 1 1/4 bolt. I'm going to start that first. Now, what you want to do is make sure the head of the nut goes from the inside out. I mistakenly said I did it the other way on the other side, but on both sides it should be the bolt should be from inside out, and the head of the bolt should be on the inside. This way the tarp doesn't rub against it and tear it up. So I'm going to start this like I did the other side. Let's get started. Then I'm going to get the longer bolt. We got a full threaded bolt. So I'm going to shove that through. Got to line them all up. And then what I'm going to do is put this on. Okay. Again, we want it on, but we don't want it too tight. Just enough where it has a little bit of play. We always can loosen it. Now, what we want to do here is just wait till we get the inside done, because we got to put a spring on here, but it also has to latch against a gear. So we're going to go inside the DumperDogg, and we're going to put the roller, hexagon roller inside. Okay, so up here in the DumperDogg, the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to take the passenger side, the roller, has a small nub compared to the driver's side, which has a longer, stud hanging out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it through the bearing we attached. Okay, then I'm going to take the inner part, and it should slide right in. Now again, you might have a burr in there, you might have to clean it out a little bit, but So I'm going to slide it right in. Then I'm going to take the passenger side, or driver's side, and slide it in. Okay, and then I'm going to slide it back out. I'm going to make sure this part goes through the bearing. And one thing, we do have some set screws in the bearing, so make sure they're not in the way of the shaft. All right, now what you want to do is when you're doing this, you want to take the outside part, go against the wall, and just back it off about 1/4 of an inch. Same thing on this side. Go against the wall, maybe back it out 1/4 inch. Now remember I made that mark before? There's the mark. So I kind of want to have it, you know, this is halfway. So I might want to go a little bit more one way because there's more here that we have to stabilize than on this side. So I'm just going to bring it over to about inch, 2 inches to one side. Okay. So now again, I'm looking for the gap again. Like I said, about 1/4 of an inch. And here, it's about like a little bit more, not that much. Again, just so it doesn't rub all the time when you're cranking it up too. So the next step will be, we have to put 2 sheet metal screws in there. So I'm going to put one right in here, again about 1 inch away from the edge, and then here about 1 inch away from the edge. So what I'm going to be using is my drill gun with a 3/8 socket. Again, these are self-tapping screws. So I'm about 1 inch away, right in the center. There's one. And there's 2. So now we got that set and ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get an Allen wrench and I'm going to tighten up both bearings. This way it can't move back and forth when I'm working on it. This way I know it's set. We won't have to go back to the passenger side again, then we'll start working on the driver's side. All right, so the next step is we're going to tighten the set screws up on the shaft. So you can do this on both sides. There's 2 set screws per bearing. So you want to tighten them up, snug them up, and go a little bit more. So now if you know, now our hose shaft doesn't move. Again, both sides, and snug them up. All right, so what you want to do now is we want to tighten the bearing to the housing. So what I'm going to do is just get in here. I'm actually going to kind of press up a little bit so it's not sagging down. Snug it up. Again, you're going to need a deep well socket for the bottom one. I'm going to rotate here. So I get in there. And I'm going to turn it. Feels pretty good. All right, so now we're going to put the sprocket on, which the sprocket is really just a locking mechanism. So I'm going to get it right in the middle of the lever, and I'm just going to snug it up. That's pretty close to the middle. Again, just tighten it. 2 spots. Okay, now after that, what we have to do is, as you see, this just can't be floating around. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach the spring to the lever, and then we're going to get a screwdriver and put it in here and kind of jump it on the bolt. So let me go get a screwdriver. Well, like I said, we're going to take the spring, we're going to put it into this hole, and then we got to get it onto the threaded bolt here. Sometimes it's not easy. Oh, but I got it within the first try. Then we're going to take our locking nut, and we're just going to put it on the end. This way it'll keep it in place. So what I'm going to do is take that in. Again, when you put the nut on, again, this is a nylock nut. You want to get it past the plastic or the nylon so it won't come off. It's just so I'm kind of making it so it's not crooked at all. That looks pretty good. Again, now you'll hold that way to when you want to roll it. And then you want to lock it, it'll lock in place. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the handle on. All right, so here's the handle. Again, you have an option. If this is not in the way, you're okay to cut like an inch off here, okay? Just to get it closer in. Again, this is made for a few other tarps and stuff, so it is a bit longer. So we're gonna put the handle on, and you have 2 set screws that are in the handle. So what I'm gonna do is just snug both ends of it up, and then I'm gonna tighten it up. And then so we want to release it. You can see it cranks nice and easy. When not in use, you want to turn the handle, and then we'll just lock it here. All right, now that we got the hand crank on, the next step is to put the tarp on. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure to the center, because on the tarp there's eyelets on it, so I want to start in the center so it's marked, and then we're going to go from there, and then we got to put 5 sheet metal screws with fender washers on them on the eyelets of the tarp. So let me get that done. All right, so we got our 5 sheet metal screws with the fender washers. So what we did, we started the first one in the center. That's how I remember when I first started this. We marked the center of the piece so we can mark the center. And now I'm just going to put a sheet metal screw on each one of the eyelets on top and tighten it down, and then we're going to roll it up. Again, I'm stretching it to the outside. All right, so we got the tarp attached. I also put the strap on. Again, that's for, you want to pull it down. A lot of times when you want to roll it back up, you want to get a little tension on it. So instead of your tarp being this wide, it'll be like this wide. So a lot of times, maybe 2 people just hold some tension on it as you crank it back up. Also, we do have hooks that will go on the tailgate and then also where the crank is. So what you want to do is, here's the hooks. And what you want to do, and you'll see this in the instructions too. Again, the tarp will be gone. Let's do this. And a lot of people put it other places, but you want to center it and just put the hooks like this, okay? But you want about 15 to 17 inches in between. The hardware does not come with our kits for these, so you have got to get your own hardware kit. But it looks like you use like a 1/4 20 bolt, maybe 1.5 inches long. But then you want to set it up like this. And this way you take the rope when it's all the way down and you just strap it, around these hooks. Also, when the tarp is fully rolled up, a lot of people will put these hooks, maybe here and here, just to put the rope somewhere. Again, that's optional. They come with the kit. It's up to you where you exactly want to put it, but in the directions they show you, you can put it here on an angle, like that. This way you strap it on here. This way you're not flying all over the road. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to roll it up, and that should be about it on this video. But let's roll it up first, make sure everything's working properly. So just give me some tension. And just try to keep it straight. You can go on the side if you want. Again, once you have it all rolled up, you relatch it. This way it can't come loose. Again, you just want to take the rope. Again, you can shorten it. You know, it's kind of, we give you a lot of rope. We just wanted you to, bring it here. And like I said, you can put the hooks right here, and then you can strap it together. So you'd have to drill 4 holes, hooks, bolts, nuts, and you're ready to go. Or you can throw it in the DumperDogg. All right, there you have it. Accessories for the DumperDogg and how to install them. Accessories we talked about today was the side extensions, window protector, and the tarp. If you can, please like, subscribe, and become part of the Snow Dog family. Also, if you have any questions, give us a call, email us, check out our website at buyersproducts.com. Now go buy a dog and dump some dirt.